Good to see you today. My name is Bob Kuebler. I'm the Director of Youth with a Purpose. And the purpose of me sitting here in front of this beautiful waterfall is to talk about some of the programs that we had in the Buffalo schools this week during our relationship mentoring program. The subject of the week was drinking, drugging, and good decision making and setting boundaries, I guess if you're going to put a title on it. And we talked about how lives can be cut short, lives can be altered, lives can be injured because people make poor decisions. We've all made poor decisions. If you took all the poor decisions I've made in my life, they'd probably be cascading over this waterfall in buckets right now. But hopefully you learn from the poor decision making. And if you would listen to somebody that's older than you that has been through some problems, you're going to learn more about how to make proper decisions. My grandmother lived to be almost 103. When Graham talked, I shut up. Now, if anybody that knows me personally, to see me shut up is probably quite a chore. But Graham had so much wisdom within her, you just didn't talk. You listened to what Graham had to say. And for the students in the school, it's easy to point out to them, do you know more now than you did last year in your life? And the answer is always yes. Of course you do. So invariably, somebody who is older, the possibility of them having more wisdom than you do and having something that would benefit your life is a good thing. So this week, we actually took a steering wheel into the school to try and bring the subject alive a little bit. The steering wheel is actually from a friend of mine that is from a Chevy pickup truck. Now, you can drive around the class, but the one thing about a steering wheel, each human being is driving a car called a role model. You are a role model. For the students, we asked them what grades are preceding them in the school. And of course, it's the younger classmen, the underclassmen. The younger classmen are walking in the way that they walk. They are talking the way that they talk. So what we said to the students was, are you proud to have the younger students acting the way you're acting, following in your footsteps, making the decisions that you make? Now, we talked about drinking and driving, drinking and all the things that affect your decision making. Drinking, doing drugs, anger are some things that can cloud your decision making to the max. You literally don't know what you're doing. It lowers your defenses. It takes your boundaries and sets them aside. And my daughter and I I told a story about my daughter and I driving along the Niagara section of the thruway down in Buffalo, New York, and we saw another car engulfed in flames on the other side of the thruway. People running around asking for help, and we stopped. We looked over. There was a guy behind the steering wheel in a car engulfed in flames with his head leaning forward on the steering wheel, and his body was charred. He was shot. He was dead. And somebody had been drinking, driving the wrong way, and was a head-on collision, and he died. Both lives are forever changed. The streams of living water that were within that human being that was driving, probably minding his own business, maybe going home from work, not really doing anything wrong, he's now dead. The streams are no longer flowing within him. Streams of living water could be described as streams of compassion, streams of good decision-making, streams of healthy boundaries, streams of living water that benefit the other people in life around us as we help them to learn what we've learned. So we also took a rubber chicken into the school. Now, it's easy to probably say that you should never let a rubber chicken drive your car. But if you're going to get into a car with somebody under the influence, you might as well get into a car with a rubber chicken. It really doesn't make any difference because you could end up dead. Either way, it's not going to be good for you. Somebody who's a chicken, you might sound like I'm putting you down at this point, but if we don't make the proper decisions and we get into a vehicle when somebody has been under the influence of drugs, alcohol, or even anger, we're chicken. We've got to stand up and have courage and make a difference. Courage, when you're drinking and you're drinking you're drinking too much, let's put it that way. If you're drinking too much and you're doing drugs and you can't control your anger, you're literally in a cage. You're in a cage because the living water or the living being of who you were meant to be, the purpose of your life, is basically caged. You cannot be free when you are constricted under the influence of alcohol. If you took the C out of, call it our cage, and moved it to the other end, it's called courage. Somebody has to have courage to do the right thing. We talked about how faithful are the wounds of a friend. A true friend is going to be somebody who's willing to walk away from a relationship and tell you the truth. If somebody's under the influence and you tell them you're not going to get in that car, you try and take their keys away, and you try and stop them, or you will call the police. You've got to take it to that level, because you or somebody else could end up dead, and not just the driver. If the driver kills somebody else, maybe a whole family, who's at fault? What I read once was that if you knowingly allow your brother to fall, and you could have done something to prevent it, you're just as guilty as the perpetrator. That's guilt by association. That's like being an accomplice. So to set healthy boundaries in your life, number one, a boundary would be, I am not going to get into a vehicle driven by somebody who's under the influence of drinking, alcohol, drugs, or anger. As a young person, you're not going to go to a party where those things are present, because those temptations will come. Peer influence is powerful. Somebody's going to say, hey, you only live once. Try this. It's not really all that bad. You'll forget all your problems. The temptations are there. Trust me, the temptations are there. All it takes is one bad decision to alter your life forever. Forever. That's a long time. So those are the things we talked about in the Buffalo schools this week. This is a short segment, and you are welcome to give us your comments. Phone number is 716-830-8240. You can find us on Facebook at Youth with a Purpose, Inc., INC. You can also email us at ywapbuffalo@yahoo.com. That's an acronym for Youth with a Purpose. You got it. Thanks for your time today. My name is Bob. Go do something nice for somebody.